Well, I first started working on cell service when I first got on council and worked with the plans to develop 11 cell phone towers with the idea that the tribe would own it. We'd own our own tribal cell business and we would develop it. That, for the last 3 years, has been primarily based on debt financing that project. We've gotten it down to some 7 towers for maybe, I think around 7 million now, to provide a cell service. We know there's an emergency need. We know there's the economic development need because it's infrastructure. It's infrastructure that would bring business to our reservation, the fact that we have cell service. But the other part of it is again, the social part and what I call the environmental justice part. Because our idea was to have a cell phone service, we wouldn't have to deal with the co-ops. Range Telephone Co-ops has what I consider some racist policy towards our members on the reservation. Having a different area code for each district is ridiculous. It doesn't make sense, it doesn't work for us. And we need to stand up to that co-op because their idea is that we are all shareholders in that co-op. But yet they fight us. They fought us the whole process of us developing this wireless project. Why? Because it would take their customers. It would take their capital credits. It would take the Universal Service Fund, which is the government's ability to fund phone service, telecommunications for every member of the United States. You have a right to have service. Well, they're capturing that money and not allowing us to use it to develop our cell service. So I would look at, now that our debts are clear, and with the new administration, I would actually implore our new business board to go out there and seek those funds to develop that cell service and those cell service towers. You know, Verizon wanted to come in here and they were only going to build about 4 towers along 212. How does that benefit the rest of our community?
I think we all agree cell phone service is critical. Just for general communication and a lot of for the emergency services, just a whole gamut of things. One of the, back when I was Taro director, there was a group from Broadus came over and they wanted to partner with the tribe to establish cell phone service here. And what they proposed was that they would help the tribe set it up and they would be a partner, but they would work themselves out of a job over a period of time and the tribe would wind up with sole ownership plus have all the trained personnel. The benefits are really good because this means that the government would be buying their cell service from us, the Bureau, the IHS, all the government employees, as well as all the individuals who live on this reservation. That would be an option I'd want to explore because right now I don't see us with the money to go out and build a cell service. I think we're going to have to look at partnering with another business with the idea that over a period of time we will assume 100% ownership. You know, the very first step really gets back to what I started with. We can't do anything unless we actually do some planning. And I believe it's the job of the president to initiate the team to start the planning. We can't address the education needs, the welfare, the economic. But there are some things that we can look at. Like for instance, after this fire over here, there's a lot of burn areas where the trees are salvageable. And those are marketable. If those were to be used into an energy development project, that is something, and that's self-sustaining too, because again, it would use not only the burn areas from this reservation, but it would allow us to purchase or partner for the areas off the reservation. There's a huge area there, source of fuel, but that's only a start. And then the sustainability, we have to look at our forestry practices. I think that our tribal forestry should be contracting more of the Bureau of Forestry Services with the idea of tree farming rather than for lumber mills and this type of thing. I think we need to look at energy and these type resources.
I think the first step is going to be to allow this corporate charter to take its role. Now, as far as who's on that corporate charter, I would look at making sure we have Cheyennes on that corporate charter, business-minded Cheyennes, to enforce the charter itself, to allow for economic development to happen here. I think sustainable economic development has to happen with small businesses. I think small businesses in the state of Montana make up 65%. So they employ 65%. And we have little, if not none, of the small businesses on our reservation. And if we can create a small business loan program that will allow for entrepreneurs to develop their businesses, give tribal lands, business leases out that don't require a payment right away. Give them 5-10 years to make some money. Then ask them to pay a portion for their business lease. I think that could be sustaining in itself, that we can provide some goods and services locally, so we're not shipping our money to Walmart and Billings, or everybody's going to Coaster to buy groceries. I think we need that our own grocery store here, and I think with small business we can help. They will be self-sustaining. The other thing I want to look at is energy also, but sustainable energy. We have a DOE feasibility study for wind, and we could start looking at solar, even manufacturing solar panels, some trade for our people here. I think we have to really think outside the box, but I would look to the experts, because I'm not an expert in that. My position is this. It would take a super majority of the people to vote on co-development. I do not agree with a vote on co-development that is 51%. Because what you do is you fractionize the community then. You have half of the community who's against it and half who are for it. You know, my concern is for our land and our natural resources. We have Class 1 air quality. We have the high standards for water quality, treatment as a state. And I think I would look at to protecting those. And if there is development that's going to happen, it's going to be at the choice of the people. But I would ensure that even if it costs us a little more, that we're doing it the cleanest way possible. That we have the highest standard, that we set a new standard if there is going to be development there. But personally, and this is my personal view, I am actually against co-development of our natural resources. But if it is a viable economic resource, we're looking at 15, 20, 30 years to see the results of that. And I've seen this administration waste 4 years of coal planning without any real goal setting. And you know, that includes a proposal. Why don't we look at the other forms of energy development? There's liquid gasification that happens. Doesn't even disturb the surface. You know, that's who helped fund our powwow 2 years ago, was this group called Link Energy. And do you think this administration wanted to hear that? No, they want to hear traditional coal, strip mining. Are you ready for Bernie and Ashton to become your wasteland for 50 years, if that's a 50-year lease for jobs and economic development? I think we should look at the new alternatives that are coming through, where there's no disturbance on the surface, and we can still see revenue coming in from that.
Thank you.
You know, a couple of years ago, there was an initiative that went out on the ballot, and the Northern Cheyenne people voted in favor of coal development. So regardless of what my personal views are, I think if the people already put it on the ballot, then we have a mandate to follow through. But it is going to be a slow process, because there is a lot of work that needs to be done. And the government, our government, has an obligation now to start doing that, because we can't say the people's got the voice and they got the rights and this and that, and then just ignore what the people voted for. Right now, that we do know that there's no market for the coal. The price of coal is real low. They've closed the ports, and there are a lot of coal companies negotiating because they want to ship the coal over to China because there's no local coal development. There are a lot of questions, and I think if anything, the people have the right to an informed response from the government. Maybe it is going to take quite a while, and maybe in 8 or 10 years, our government is going to say, look, it's just not going to be cost effective, or it is going to run our land, or it is going to do this, all these depredations to our land. But in the meantime, we have to start the process because the people voted for it. Mitigate, mitigate, mitigate. You know, back when I was Terra Director, I was asked my opinion on that Otter Creek coal development. And my response was, we need to start negotiating with them now because it is going to happen. We need to make a decision right now how we're going to negotiate with them. Is it just going to be jobs and jobs training, or is it going to be impact, or all these things? Are we going to be sitting up in that engine with the engineer, or are we going to be on a flatbed with a bunch of hobos? Well, this is going on now, and we still haven't had any viable negotiations with them. However, what we have to negotiate is our Class A air quality, our water, the impact, the social impact that's going to be on our tribe. They're going to have to assist us with the housing, I would think. I'd like to see some money set aside for this new justice center that we've been working on for 10 years. There's going to be a heck of an impact on our laws, enforcement of our laws. We need to put money into education because we want to start getting our kids, our youth, into these engineering positions that they're going to be hiring out there. We need to get people with the business degrees to learn how to run that business, and essentially help the Cheyenne people and help our families.
You know, we've been talking about this for about 2 years, and the Land Authority Committee has been doing some planning with that. And the idea that this is going to be the next boom town in Ashland. What are we going to do? How are we going to address that? Some of the comments that I remember were about starting to purchase land in Ashland, starting to develop businesses in Ashland, starting to promote business in Ashland with land we buy over there. You know, the other idea we should look at is Ashland becoming a town. And if Ashland becomes a town, we need to be a major player in that and have an Indian sit in these seats of leadership, whether that's a mayor or a commissioner or these sheriffs over there, sheriff's positions. So I think that's an opportunity for us to look at. Economically, you know, Otter Creek settlement is about justice. It's about us making our reservation whole. And in order for them to continue on with their development, there's one thing that we have that's our, I guess you want to call it, wild card, and that's our cultural resources. And that's what we've been fighting for with Otter Creek right now, is the protection of our cultural resources surrounding that development. And that's going to be a major issue for us to bring up and get in equity in the development there. And you know, I agree with what John's saying about the jobs. They can't just be janitor positions. They need to be administrative positions, executive positions. And we need to start looking at our tribal college to start looking at these types of skills we're going to need to employ over there. But I would strongly revisit the impact aid portion of Otter Creek And if this bill gets through the Senate, I would ask for that 70 million back to be put on the bill.